Alright, let's get right into it. So we found ourselves in another war for Israel. We're at a very interesting and what was predictable place. Before we go ahead and talk about that, I want to go down memory lane. For decades, more than one man, but one man specifically has really been pushing this war for us to get involved with Iran. Let's give that character some airtime and let's take a stroll down memory lane.
Probably heard this line before.
Iran has never given up its quest for nuclear weapons and the missiles to deliver them.
That's because Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying this for more than 30 years, claiming Iran is close to
Decades
having
and
nuclear
decades.
Nuclear weapons, atomic bombs.
In 1992, as a member of parliament, Netanyahu addresses the Knesset. He says, within 3 to 5 years, we can assume that Iran will become autonomous in its ability to develop and produce a nuclear bomb. 3 years later, in his book Fighting Terrorism, he repeats the same time frame, 3 to 5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Fast forward to 2002. Netanyahu testifies before a U.S. congressional committee
It's like he's got a script that he's going off of and just repetitively every few years reciting the same time frame. But keep in mind, in 3 to 5 years, Iran's going to get that nuke.
actively calling for the invasion of Iraq.
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
The two nations that are vying, competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran.
The invasion happens months later. No weapons of mass destruction.
And again, now, today, we know that whole weapons of mass destruction stuff was BS just to get us into another war in the Middle East and basically do Israel's bidding.
Are found in Iraq. This is a fragment of a 2009 U.S. State Department cable released by WikiLeaks. Netanyahu tells members of Congress that Iran is 1 or 2 years away from being capable of developing nuclear weapons.
They're online.
It's 2012, and Netanyahu is holding up his infamous cartoon bomb at the UN General Assembly.
By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage.
Man, he even brought
it's
an
only a few months,
infograph
possibly a few
picture
weeks,
with him this time. He
before
was
they
serious.
get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
And now, 33 years after Netanyahu's first so-called imminent warning, Israel attacks Iran.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
That's despite the U.S. Director of National Intelligence saying Iran isn't building a nuclear weapon months earlier.
Iran lied.
But for Netanyahu,
Big time.
the slogan has been the same for decades. Dmitry Medvedenko, Al Jazeera.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the
Now, if you've been keeping up with current events, you know the war in Iran has just been terrible. First off, we've kind of treated Iran like they are the same as Iraq or Afghanistan. Iran is a totally different nation. It has a massive military, way bigger than the other two that we went into. But not only that, they've been preparing for this for decades. Because you've got all these politicians that are in Israel's back pocket in the U.S. that have been campaigning for this forever. So Iran's done a lot of things to protect themselves and to get ready for this very event. In the beginning, the U.S. stated all these goals. Ultimate surrender is what they wanted. You know, they wanted to destroy the nuclear program. First they told you they destroyed it. Then they're saying they're going back to destroy it. Now they're talking about the missile program, and they said it's been completely wiped off. But yet, day in and day out, Iran's able to fire missiles and make hits. There was a plane out of Oklahoma in AWACS that was shot down. That's a massive reconnaissance plane that they use to do planning and all type of real-time events for aircraft support. That was downed. We've lost major assets. Basically been humiliated on the world stage. So I just recently have been watching some of the videos from this Breaking Point channel, and they've been really on point with some of the things that they're saying, and they're giving accurate coverage of what's going on. Another good channel on YouTube is Redacted News. They cover things and speak truth. In the mainstream, we're getting this narrative that, we've just been winning, 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 when that just really hasn't been the case. So let's look at this video.
As of this morning, let me go ahead and read it. All of those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Straits of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the US. We have plenty. Number two, build up some delayed courage. Go to the Strait and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is gone. Go get your own oil. This fits very much with a late breaking story last night. Let's go and put the Wall Street Journal up there on the screen. Alex Ward over at the Journal. I highly recommend the follow, by the way. Excellent reporter. He was also the person who broke the Roe versus Wade story back in the day, so highly recommend. I've known him for a long time. He says, Trump tells aides he's willing to end the war without reopening Hormuz. So if you put these two things together, it does indicate that at the current moment, that is what Trump wants us to think or is potentially doing. So this is at least what Donald Trump is telegraphing now publicly and or privately behind the scenes. Everybody do keep in mind that all of this could be an elaborate psyop, as we have seen now multiple times from the Trump administration, potentially trying to signal that the war is over, while if we continue to follow all of the ground troops in the region. So I no way want to say that this is the end. But let's pretend that it is. Let's pretend that it's Taco Tuesday. And of course, stock futures are surging right now as you and I speak over this. Should they really be surging? I mean, this is a genuine Suez moment for the United States. Let's think about this. The U.S. military went into this campaign unilaterally with Israel with a singular objective: unconditional surrender, the decapitation of the Iranian regime, a replacement of that regime, a reopening, recontrol of the Straits of Hormuz. At one point, we floated a reinsurance scheme backed by the United States and the United States Navy sailing freely through the strait. Now, after over a month, there is now an effective declaration. Trump says.
So I really like that he brings up that point. In the beginning, the administration let out these clear objectives that they said were non-negotiable: a complete surrender. What it's looking like now is that they're starting to realize that, yes, they have done significant damage in Iran, significant damage to military assets and some civilian structures, but they have not met those goals, those very defined goals they originally laid out. And what it's showing is that Iran was a lot more prepared than we thought they were, and their capabilities were a lot more than what was it to be expected. There are some good voices like Colonel McGregor and Scott Ritter that have talked about this and their capabilities for years, and what a shit show it would be if we went there and engaged in what we are now engaging in. But those voices always get drowned out by the warmongers like Lindsey Graham, a total fruitcake, which has been promoting American sons and daughters go die in Iran and other countries in the Middle East for decades. And then people like Pete Hegseth, a complete clown, a fool, promoting the same.
As well, we have actually changed the regime because we killed the original Ayatollah. Now we have a new Ayatollah whose father was murdered and his brother and his wife. I mean, can't even go through the list of family members. The guy who had the fatwa against nuclear weapons, he's gone.
Another valid point. We bomb all these people. What does that do? Their family members get deleted and stuff. Then you radicalize these people to hate us. So it's a never-ending process. There's never going to be peace because we're always provoking. Our word isn't good anymore. At one point it was. Now countries realize that they can't trust us. When we come to make a deal, we're trying to get the best of them. We say we're there to negotiate in good faith, but we never are. Nothing is going to change on the world stage until we're able to be held to our word again. And a lot of countries are starting to realize that we don't hold to our word anymore.
The hardline IRGC is all in control. The Straits of Hormuz is under Iranian control, who is allowing selectively certain ships that were either Pakistani or Chinese or any country which is willing to make a deal with them. They passed a piece of legislation yesterday in their parliament saying that they've officially approved a toll program, almost like the Egyptians, in the control of the Suez crisis. And then Trump comes in and he says that we'll be done because you didn't join us. So first of all, it was a war of choice. It's not like we needed anybody. Allegedly, we were told we could do this all by ourselves. We didn't necessarily need anyone to come in we blew up the global economy, quite literally. We're going to tell everybody just in the 1 month of what it looks like. Asia, 80% of oil from through the Straits of Hormuz goes to Asia. Only 50% goes to China. The rest of them are extremely critical U.S. allies. LNG, which is heavily reliant, Europe is, after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Oh, well, sorry, 70% of Qatar's Ras Laffan gas, that's gone. It just evaporated for the next 4 to 5 years. Good luck paying for it, though, by the way. So what this means is that the U.S. came in here, didn't even military accomplish its objectives, basically got all of our bases like destroyed and or hit. We lost all these strategic aircraft. We humiliated ourselves, really, in terms of what people expected the United States to be able to do. Now, we could finish the job with ground troops. We decided we don't want to do that. And we tell the Europeans and the Asians, go get your own oil. So what's more likely, Crystal, that the UK and the EU and Japan and South Korea are going to form a coalition of the unwilling and go and militarily take the Straits of Hormuz, or Tehran is going to be like, pay up, let's go. And by the way, no more dollars. You're going to denominate it in yuan. Any U.S. flagship, you're never coming through here. If you're sailing to Israel, you're not coming through here either. And this is the new sheriff in town in the Straits of Hormuz. What's that sound like to you? That sounds like a strategic victory right now. So far for the Iranian Empire, they get to, or the Iranian regime, potentially an empire. It used to be an empire. So we've got the Iranian.
All things considered, how this has played out over the last month of this war, what I see happening is a possibility of a couple of things. Either what Trump says here, there's a little bit of truth to it, and he's looking for an on-ramp, off-ramp. I mean, he's saying that, he'll now accept terms and make a deal and not demand, not finish what he said he was going to finish and allow the Iranians to continue to control the Strait of Hormuz. So we have an off-ramp there. Negotiations can then be made. If that's done, though, that could totally change power on the world stage. What it does is it shows our allies that we aren't the biggest, baddest one on the block anymore. And we can't just force people to submit. If we can't get it done here in Iran, where can we get it done at? This is going to cause a lot of our allies to relook at their situation and decide, like, their back's kind of going to be against the wall. Do you choose security or do you choose your economy? Most of our allies are getting their oil. Their oil passes through this area, so it's a major deal. So what I see is Trump kind of has his back against the wall. It's, they've already been sending a bunch of troops over there, and you've been hearing all this talk of maybe a ground invasion. So either he's going to get pushed to do that because he can't allow power to be redefined across the globe like that. I mean, it would totally change the world economy if that was to be the case. So either he goes for this off-ramp where he says, okay, we're not going to go for those clear things that we swore we were going to go for before. Let's try to make some type of deal. Or his back's against the wall and he has to do a ground invasion to try to continue to pop up this image that is clearly day by day being shredded, and a lot of our allies are starting to realize that. So what are they going to do? They're going to probably end up paying this Iranian tax, getting their oil, and letting the terms be dictated to them.